Welcome. How you all doing? You enjoying yourself some content of the ACP variety? Good. Good. Because there's more to come. Oh yeah. There's a lot more to come. I have promised with 400 subscribers that I will read the Magic Circle Hijacking. I do not remember why I said I would read this at 400 subscribers. I do not remember when that happened. But here, who am I to argue with past me? We're here now. And there it is. In all its glory. But yeah, no, I honestly do not remember. I wrote it down. I wrote it down in my Discord, in my YouTube subs list, that with 400 subscribers, we shall read this Magic Circle Hijacking. And yeah. I also want to say, apparently, I found out today, I apparently look like the less threatening version of The Weeknd, which, yeah, I mean, I guess I'll take it. I'll take it. That's definitely a new one. I've been called different things, but I feel like that one, that one I can accept. That one I can accept. Until hundreds of people call me that, then I'm gonna be like, okay, now you're pushing your luck. But for now, I think I can accept that. But how about we get started on the Magic Circle Hijacking? Parker, Arizona Watcher 2003, 8th, 17th, 2018, Friday, 2:23:44. So 2 o'clock. Well, yeah, you can see it. It's right there. And number 9362486. Okay, so it looks like somebody's talking to Parawatch, which that's also something I don't. Parawatch Wiki, that's not something I'm not at all familiar with. I'm excited to see what the comments section will say or explain. If you so may, please give me a short, not too spoilery synopsis of what Parawatch is. I would highly appreciate it. Okay, hi Parawatch. Long time lurker, first time poster. I've been searching for a year now, trying to find any information an old TV hijacking incident known as the Parker, Arizona hijacking. Has anybody else heard of it? I'll try and give as much background info as I can remember. The first thing I want to say is that I am a storyteller. I've told stories my entire life, just like my father did before me. He taught me how to blend the real world with fantasy, how to capture the audience, how to properly tell a tale. I mention this because I have told this story hundreds of times before. I know it back to front. Every useless detail locked into my mind. This story is as much a part of me as I am part of it. I grew up in Parker, Arizona, a small town with nothing going on, especially if you're a young kid with energy to burn. It was a Thursday evening, late January 24th, 2003, and my brother and I had a plan. To watch TV. We didn't have school on Friday because of parent-teacher interviews. We had a 3-day weekend instead, and our plans were built entirely around our television. Oh man, the 3-day weekend. By the way, shout out to, I know that most of the people that are watching me here are from the US, but also shout out to people from Poland and the Czech Republic who are watching me. I wonder what you guys think, but yeah, I appreciate you that you all just watch me just going through all this stuff. Just wanted to give that a quick shout out there because I was looking and I was genuinely surprised, but I'm very flattered that people even want to watch any of these videos, because at the end it's more or less like an archive channel for me. It's just a proof that I did it to myself and to people who want to know. But yeah, let's continue. Isn't it funny how we can remember the exact time and date something happened while forgetting so much about what actually happened? Yeah. My bedtime was 7:30 p.m. back then, and normally I would be in bed. But my brother and I had begged to stay up and watch the TV special that everybody at school has been talking about. In Parker, we had this local TV station, BKPBS. So PBS is like usually like children, right? Don't know much about it because in Switzerland we don't have that. But if I understand from what I've seen throughout, like, other like YouTube channels, Nostalgia Critic, and all that stuff, like PBS is definitely meant more for like children. That would broadcast children's entertainment 24/7. There it is. Yeah, it's just explain it right in the sentence. Sometimes they would get the distribution license to show a major animated show, but most of the time they showed either local entertainers or the cheapest specials they could find to fill the runtime. Every Thursday evening, PKPBS had a special program they called The Weird Zone. My brother and I were never able to stay up late enough to watch it, but the older kids at school talked about it all the time. From what I understood, it was a variety show hosted by a local personality known as the Player. The Weird Zone would show clips submitted by viewers, as well as showing off strange shorts. Think stuff like Cracks or Clockman. Clockman sounds a bit too... Okay. All aimed at the teenagers who were still awake. This week was special though. At the end of the program, the week before, the Player had announced that he had gotten his hands on the holy grail of kids' entertainment. A lost SpongeBob episode. It better not be a script suicide, I tell you what. My brother and I couldn't believe it. We thought we had seen everything there was. We knew we needed to see this episode of The Weird Zone. Isn't it weird how kids want to believe things? In retrospect, there was no way The Weird Zone could have found a lost episode. A local access show in the middle of nowhere. Any rational thinker knows that's impossible, but a kid can build an entire set of rules and rationalization for why it has to be real. Our childhoods are full of fake worlds, ruled by our imaginations. The promise of an escape makes us believe that magic is real. Why did we lose that? Our parents, of course, said no, but we begged. We promised everything a kid does. Extra chores, free labor, anything just to get our bedtime moved up so we could see this live. They finally relented once we promised to start actually doing our chores. Not that we ever end up keeping that promise, not after. Oops, spoilers. I shouldn't get ahead of myself. So here you didn't do your chores because you were too focused on trying to get that show to watch, eh? Okay, yeah, of course, the last SpongeBob episode. I know, I understand. I fully listen. Back then, SpongeBob was like everything that was everything to us. Okay, that shit was cartoon crack. I was more of a Scooby-Doo guy and Courage the Cowardly Dog, but SpongeBob, that definitely, I get it. So it's Thursday evening, and my brother and I sitting on the carpet of our basement rumpus room, staring at the dull glow of the TV set. My dad just left the room after setting up our VHS player to record the broadcast. He was obsessed with recording anything we watched. Looking back now, I think my dad was terrified of anything being lost permanently. And at the end of the day, I'm a daddy's girl. So I guess that's where my lost media obsession comes from. Well, you're a daddy's boy now with my voice. But I'll keep that voice. I'm not going to feminize it. She will keep this voice right now. She will keep the less threatening version of the Weeknd's voice. The clock hits 9 p.m. and the commercial gets cut off abruptly. It was replaced with footage from an empty set. The light's not on yet. The camera eerily still. A sign reading, The Weird Zone, dangled from a rope in the middle of the frame. Remember when old shows used to do that? My brother and I stared, mesmerized by the fear and excitement of something completely new. We couldn't take our eyes off the TV. Suddenly, a high-pitched whine came out of the TV, screaming at us. My brother was trying to change the volume, but the remote wasn't working. The whine continued, shifting pitches until it was a deep, low thrumping, almost indistinguishable from the central air system, just one room over. The footage of the set cut to black. I went to the TV and started to hit it, upset that we were missing the show. Neither of us realized anything was wrong. Nobody did. And also, back in the day, just, come on, TV, and it's just, oh, you want to watch TV? Why did you just say so? You didn't have to hit me for that. I don't know exactly what happened next. Only what my parents have told me over the years. But I do remember waking up hours later, sitting in a hospital bed, my father staring at me with concern. The first thing I asked about was my brother. He was in the room next door, still unconscious, with mom. Then I asked my dad what happened. I saw a distant look on his face as he stared at the doorway, the rest of the hospital behind it. I could smell the artificial and sterile room, feel the bright flickering fluorescent lighting overhead, hear the chaos unfolding just outside the door. Tears, wails, panic and yelling, and yet I felt completely at ease. Bored, disengaged even. What the hell had happened? My dad told me that he had rushed downstairs as soon as he heard the feedback from the TV, but when he finally got to the rumpus room, my brother and I were passed out on the ground. SMPTE bars covering the screen. Oh, yeah. Accompanied by a short message saying, "We'll be right back." He panicked, yelled for my mom to come help, and they rushed us to the hospital. They had tried to wake us, but nothing they did worked. And he recorded that, so I wonder if our main character decides to go back to the VHS and be like, let's see what this has on it. When they arrived, he said it was like a circus. My parents weren't the only ones who had brought the kid into the emergency room. The place was filled with families, terrified parents, and unconscious kids. Even if the hospital didn't know it yet, the parents had been talking and knew the commonality. We had all been watching The Weird Zone and all passed out in the first couple of minutes. We ended up spending the rest of the night in the hospital. I can't remember how many doctors we ended up seeing, but it felt like there was a constant cycle of different people coming in to perform tests. I think one of them didn't even work at the hospital, but my dad didn't believe me. Okay. Now, the only time I could make sense of that sentence would be if it was an SCP agent that pretends to be a doctor and somehow slipped up a little bit. But this, again, I don't know. I'm not sure how closely connected the Power Watch is with the whole world, but I'll keep going. Okay. Next morning, the doctors at the hospital had a meeting to discuss just what had affected at least 60 children across Park, Arizona. 60 children. Now, I wonder if they're all preteen or if they're teenagers. If there's a mix of both. Because so far I understand, our protagonist is not a teenager yet, because she constantly said the older children, the teenagers, have talked about it. The official statement was that we had all suffered from temporary coma-like symptoms brought on us as a result of a faulty broadcast. They let everybody go around noon. None of the tests had shown any existing causes, nor was anybody really harmed by what had occurred. Other than a few small scrapes or bruises from falling over, not a single child was hurt. If I was the father, I'd be still suspicious of what happened, because 60 children with no signs of previous epileptic effects or coma-like effects caused by a broadcast, I'd be suspicious. I'd be highly suspicious of what the hell happened. Other than talking about it at school with some friends who had also gone to the hospital, it never really came up again. PKBBS had shut down, with the official statement placing the blame squarely on the signal hijacker. They never said what the hijacker wanted, nor was that ever discussed. Anytime my brother or I would try and bring the topic up at home, my dad would shut that down immediately. Okay, I mean, understandable. It's not really a pleasant memory. Oh yeah, the show that caused my two children to end up in a short-time coma while 58 other children had the same thing. Don't really want to talk about that. So eventually we all forgot, or at least stopped telling the story. Parker, Arizona forgot. We grew up. I moved away, finished college, and started the same job I still work in today. The incident was light years away, seemingly abandoned in the past. My brother and I had drifted apart once I moved, but that's just how these things go, right? Neither of us seemed to care enough to put the effort in to stay in touch. We're both just living our lives independently, going through the motions. Yeah, that sadly does happen. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad when it happens. My mom passed suddenly about a year ago. My dad had called to give me the news. Your mother died last night. He said he was silent, waiting for my reply, for the tears and shared sadness of the unexpected loss of a loved one. You know that feeling when you feel nothing except the guilt over the fact that you're not reacting right? I didn't even feel guilty. I felt like minutes had passed, but still, I didn't react. It was weird, but ever since the incident, it felt like life was wrong, different, fake. I didn't get upset about things as much. I barely cried at my grandparents' funeral, and only because that was what I thought I was supposed to do. Therapy helped a little bit, but something about the experience changed me. I was numb to emotions, detached from the world, like I didn't care what happened to me. We had an SCP that was very similar. It was like the one who built it was like by the port, like the door that was like. It was a person that basically created like space inside a room. It was like almost like a portal to space, and they talked about like how like they don't really feel much, and they understand that they feel very much different than everybody else, but only at the end did they like feel emotions and joy and sadness and all that stuff. But throughout the whole story, it was a long story too. They just say like they know they were supposed to socialize in college because that's what you're supposed to do, but he never like felt right. He never felt like, oh, that's I have fun or I'm bored or anything like that. He just did it. So I wonder if that's like in similar case here, where like you just do things because you heard it's the thing to do, and then like not being sad is over your mother, especially your mom's death. Like at the end, it does say here, I'm a daddy's girl, but it's still your mother. It's still half of your parents that from the sound of it, like cared for you a lot. So yeah. Okay. My dad caught my train of thought. He started to tell me about his plans for the funeral and asked if I could make it back in time. I hadn't gone back to Parker since I left. I had to be there for him. My brother was like I was, but worse. I faked caring. That was what other people needed. He didn't. He was like the undead, moving around from place to place, brainless and moaning, constantly chasing the next high. Neither my father or I knew where he was. We just knew he wouldn't come to the funeral. That's sad. That is sad. It's also sad because, like, from the sound of it, it's this one incident that caused it all, right? The funeral was beautiful and moving, at least according to everybody else. I love my mom. She meant the world to me. And was always there when I needed her. So that answers my question if she was like a good mom. But standing there, watching as her casket was lowered into the grave, my father saw me at my side, the rest of the extended family sharing in their grief, I felt nothing. I was empty. Something was wrong with me. Why don't I feel anything about the death of my mother? I saw a look from my dad, one I had seen before, a grim recognition as he looked at my dry eyes. So he's realizing that, I wonder if the dad is on like with her side, like it's like, okay, something's clearly wrong. Let's figure it out. At least she admits that like that she should be feeling something, but she just isn't, and it's off for her. It would be worse if she felt nothing. It was like, well, yeah, that's how it goes. I have water. After the funeral, my dad and I sat in the Rumpus room in the old house. It looked like it didn't change at all since the fateful day in 2003. The same TV, VHS player, and posters decorating the walls. My dad sat across from me, a serious expression on his face. What do you remember from 2003? He didn't even have to say it. I knew he was talking about the hijacking. I told him what I knew, that we were watching TV and that I couldn't remember anything until the hospital. He sighed and took a deep sip of whiskey. It's time I told you the full story. I always loved my dad's stories. My parents had done their best to ignore that night for the rest of our childhoods, dodging questions and changing the topic to avoid saying anything. I had never heard my father even talk about it before. I was on the edge of my seat, desperate to know what had happened. He told me that when he rushed into the rumpus room, he saw something before the SMPTE bars had appeared. It was a circle, he said, surrounded by flashing colors. Before a burst of static enveloped the screen, cutting to the SMTPE bars. A circle. The famous hijacking that had changed the lives of everyone who saw it was a circle? I didn't understand. What did he mean by a circle? It's not just a circle. Of course not. My dad told me that once we got back from the hospital, he checked the VHS recording he had made for any evidence of what we had seen that would explain what had happened that night. My father paused as he recounted the story, leaning in, looking older than I had ever seen him. Have you heard of the magic circle? Like witchcraft? He shook his head. He didn't know what it was when he first saw the image, but he needed to find out. He told me that back in the day he started hitting up PBS and other communities trying to find anybody who could recognize the circle. It was on a horror and gaming PBS that he would finally get the answer. A user messaged him directly, telling him that they would explain everything if he deleted his post. What do we have here? Hermeneutic Hunter was his username. My dad has been haunted by that username, feeling like there was a deeper. Okay, so I think it's supposed to be feeling like there was a deeper meaning just out of reach. For some reason, my dad just knew that they had the answers. And once my dad deleted the post, the user began to explain just what the image was. My dad said the user called it a hermeneutic, more specifically a magic circle. Apparently, the idea was first conceived of by an old guy named Johann Huizinga, or Huizinge, Huizinga. Huizinga. Some Dutch dude from the early 1900s, before it was taken by the online community around video games. A magic circle in a space where the real world and its rules don't exist. Gamers use it when talking about MMOs, the line between immersion in the fantasy and the real world where we all stuck in. Huizinga was more broad. The magic circle is a place separate from real life where we all agree to act as if this is our reality. The rules we make for the magic circle are agreed upon, but stayed limited to being within that circle. Okay, what my dad had captured on the VHS, he said, wasn't just a magic circle. It was something else entirely. A broken magic circle. Something with a power that neither he or the anonymous user knew anything about. He spent years after that digging, trying to find out what had happened to the other kids who saw the show. Figuring out why the media had ignored this. He had spent decades of his life dedicated to solving this mystery, and the only concrete thing he had was the VHS tape. I wonder if the wife probably was also not very much. I assume the wife was not very much involved in the whole research thing. That's rough. Because of course, at the end, like your children are being affected by this. It's like clearly whatever happened to your children has forever changed them. So it makes sense that he wants to like look deeper into it. My dad asked if I wanted to see the tape. He hoped that it might give me some closure, help me process the emotions I kept locked away. It could even make me feel something. I needed to understand what had happened to me, why I was the way I was. I said yes. He left me alone in the basement, having walked away in a drunken stupor after putting the tape into the player. I was paused, staring at the dull glow of the TV, the familiar side of the dark unlit set of the weird zone returning to me. It felt like home, and the rest of the world wasn't. I pressed play, the fear that I might pass out again outweighed by my desperation to know. It wasn't anything that I expected. I wanted to explain everything, to answer the burning questions that defined me. I stared at the circle on the screen, flickering with static, mocking me in its normalcy. The colors changed in the background, but no matter how much the screen changed or the circle flickered, I was left with a single thought. What if everything is fake? I wasn't thinking about the broadcast, the hijacking, or what had happened to the kids all over town. I was thinking about the world, our world, the meat space that we all inhabit. What if nothing really matters? What if we all just in a magic circle, a simulation, playing by the rules that we all agree with, but in actuality don't matter? What if whatever we all saw that fateful night broke the magic circle? We're the only ones who would know that this isn't real, that nothing is real. Nobody would believe us. I tried to ask my brother about it. He tried to show him the footage from the tape, but he refused to talk about it. He called the video fake, said that it was just a freak accident and was obsessing. He wouldn't even believe that our mom was dead. He rambled, telling me that our real mom is fine, but was just stuck, trapped away from her. He hung up on me shortly after, and I haven't heard from him since. So now I come to you, Watch. My dad and I know what we saw, but I'm starting to have some doubts. I can't find anything else about this online, and after PKPBS shut down, all of the records and archive footage were lost. As far as I know, the video my father captured is the only evidence the magic circle hatching ever existed. Does anyone know about what really happened that night in Parker, Arizona? Did it actually happen? Or my father and I spinning out in the wake of my mom's death? Have any of you heard of the Weird Zone or the Magic Circle? And can anybody recognize this symbol? Please ignore the incorrect date and time. For all of his passion, my father could never figure out how to configure the VHS recorder. So it looks like, okay, so it looks like we have an actual video here. Hold on. I have to fix the, hold on, I said. The volume, the audio is not calibrated correct. Not calibrated. I mean, you know what? Fuck it. Here we go. Now you guys should be able to hear it. Yes. Okay. I'll be quiet. I stupidly forgot to unmute myself. So I just want to quickly say that was interesting. That was an interesting one to read. I hope you guys can give me some more context in the comment section about power wash and all that stuff. I was saying things like, it's interesting how like the system brother have a bit of a different effect. So I was kind of theorizing maybe the circle affects every child differently. Because like even though they both say like, oh, this world is not real, it's still like the daughter acted like, still has a sense of like, okay, I have to be there at the funeral because it's the right thing to do and all that stuff like that. But the brother was full on like, I will distance myself from anybody because I know this is not real, which was weird to me because if that's the case, wouldn't he be close to the sister because like she's the only other one that is basically from the world that he's from, or like from, and so on and so forth, because how he said like, oh, our real mom is still alive and well. But yeah, but maybe that's why I feel like maybe the circle affects everybody differently. Maybe like the brother is seeing both worlds, and that's why he's like kind of like stressed out because like he's living in one world while still being able to like just view into the other world where he's from. And the sister is more like emotionless now. Who knows? You guys can explain to me more. It's also kind of crazy to think about it. This all started because the kids wanted to watch a SpongeBob episode. Like, and this is the second time SpongeBob has appeared in the SCP world. Again, explain to maybe the Power Watch world is different, but it's the second time that that SpongeBob has like caused havoc in the SCP world. So yeah, just don't watch SpongeBob in the episode in that Foundation world. In the Foundation world, don't stay away from it. Did I say anything else? I don't think so. I think that's basically it. So that was with you, and wish you all good morning, afternoon, evening. I see you all in the next video. Ciao.